Longtime iron maker making some really good irons. We got another review. Check it out. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary, and this is the McGolf channel where we talk about golf club reviews, golf club repairs, golf club fittings. All serious scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom. That way this information gets out to the YouTube universe. Also, we have a live stream that's on Mondays, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays. Join us. It's the same thing, only live. I am sure you're going to enjoy it. Also, this is where customers become friends. All right, so let's get started. Who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Wilson, right? I don't think anybody out there is ever going to argue that Wilson makes a very, very, very good iron, okay? Normally, it's in the premier portion of it. When it gets into the middle tier of the range or even in the most forgiving, they're very good irons to be sure, but they just don't get a lot of media love for that matter, okay? So what are we reviewing? Well, we're reviewing the new Wilson Staff MB and the new Wilson Staff CB. So we're the new muscle back, all right, the new Wilson muscle back and the new Wilson cavity back. All right, this guy right there. All right, so what are we looking at here? So normally what I say is we take them to the shop, and I did. Now, keep in mind they don't send me completed clubs on this one because I can build Wilson here in the shop. And so they send me heads. The heads came in, they weighed out very, very well. Once I got them set up in my shop, they actually came out correct, okay? In both the MB and the CB, it is a 30 degree 6 iron at 61 and a half degrees of loft. That's weak, okay? It's not weak as in per spec, it's just weak as in you had better generate some swing speed and you better be a good ball striker in order to make these guys work. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more on how to make these things work a little bit better. They're made out of an 8620 carbon steel. There's a lot of milling going on in this club. They talk about milling the face, they talk about milling the cavity back on the cavity, and they have the forged fluid hosel, all right? The forged fluid hosel. Now, what does that mean? Well, the forged fluid hosel, if you see there's a little dot, the dot to give it that idea that it's a bore through. Now, in tradition, yes, it is a bore through by definition, but the shaft doesn't go to this part of it, so it's not really a bore through. However, that weight that they've removed has allowed for them to put weight into the toe area so that you don't overcook shots or leave it wide open, okay? So when you hit the toe shot, typically the face wants to stay open and it goes off and away from you. Well, with this little bit more heavy toe weighting, that when you're coming around and it hits it, it's still going to keep coming, okay? Now again, on a muscle back, is there a whole lot you can do as far as changing in monster technologies? Well, no, all right? However, can you move the weight around to be a little bit more precise? The answer is yes. Yes, you can. And if you look right in here, this is where they've removed it. And when they remove this, you know, it's a game of where's it not. So if it's not here, where's it at? Well, it's right here. And it's right here on the toe, just like we talked about, and it gets down lower. And that allows you to get some balls getting up there. Now, with a weaker loft, you're like, well, you don't really need that. Yeah, but what happens here is if you get some of that weight behind the ball, it's still going to move. Now, the other part of this guy has a very radiused sole. Has a very radiused sole, which you really want to have when you have a thin sole. You don't want it to be flat because it just turns into a shovel. Very nice design. It's got a bit of a toe on it, a very, very, very thin top line for you guys that like that thin top line, and a modicum of offset, and I'm talking tenths of millimeters, okay? Tenths of millimeters. So you got it's a blade, so it's not going to be very forgiving. It's also going to be very weak for guys that are very strong with their swing speeds and ball striking. That's who this is made for, okay? Now the other one, let me switch this around so it makes it easier. I believe this is going to be the most underrated club out there. This is the cavity back, and there's, again, forged in 8620, a lot of milling. They talk about precise milling so that the weight is behind in the areas that they want it to be. They're also talking about milling the face. You're milling the face so you get these precise set of grooves, and the idea is to impart spin. Now again, we have when you're talking about cavity back means that it's perimeter weighted, right? There's weight that goes around the outside. So effectively, it's more forgiving than the blade. However, this one also has the fluid feel hosel so that you can move the weight out to the toe. You can see they're really putting a piece there, but if you look in the cavity, there's still more weight back there, and it's just a good, clean look compared to last year's model. Last year's model was very nice. This is better. Again, it has a nice radius sole, but it is noticeably wider than the blade. All right, it's not grossly wide by any shape of the imagination, but a good middle of the road sole. All right, and very radius. And again, on this guy, I would say that the top line is just a little bit wider. It is a cavity back. And the offset on this is just a touch more, right? It's just a touch more. Now, what's the deal with this guy? Well, again, we talked about the soft metal that it's using to be there. It is also in the 30 degree 6 iron. So you better be hitting this thing pretty good in order to get it out there. All right, so we're going to talk about how to make this club better after we've done the hitting, okay? And so stay with me towards the end so that we can figure out how to make these guys work. So now, could you combo set these? Yes, but I wouldn't recommend it. The difference in these guys are pretty big as far as one is very thin in its sole, one is not, okay? Could you? Yeah, but I think if you're going to be that kind of a ball striker, you're not going to need it. So we've talked about it. Let's go hit them. All right, we're reviewing the Wilson staff, the muscle backs and the cavity backs, and seeing how they compare. Now, what I did here was they're supposed to both be the same loft. Well, I took a different approach to this and kept the muscle back at the same loft, and then what I did is I increased the loft of the the cavity back by 2 degrees, just 2 degrees, because I just think that this is a much better club than people will give it credit for. So that's what I wanted to show you, the possibilities here. Alrighty, so right now as it stands, they're 10 yards difference, identically, almost in the same spot, swinging almost at the same speed, except for I am hitting the cavity back at a much higher rate, slightly lower, about 700 RPM lower in the spin rate. The roll is about 2 to 3 yards difference, and I'm, as one would imagine, it's kind of funny, I'm hitting the cavity back a little bit lower than I am the muscle back, as one would think, and with very decent attack angles. All right, so let's see what it looks like. So here we go. This is 10 shots. And there we go. The 10 shots go off. And as one might expect from a 6 iron, there it is. There's a couple in the middle, couple on the right, couple on the left. And we're going to pare that down like we normally do to a 5 and see what happens there. All right, let's go to the cavity back. Cavity back looks like that. Looks like it's raining. And but it looks a little bit more like it's landing on a line, left to right. We'll have to see what that's all about when we get out there. Well, I have 14 shots in that one, so we're going to have to really pare that one down. All righty, so let's do some averaging. So if we put them together, maybe I have more than that. So there, the blue represents the muscle back, and the red represents the cavity back. Now, as you can tell, and this is not unheard of with a muscle back, if you are not hitting in the middle of the face, you tend to get penalized. All right, you get penalized quite a bit right here, where in the cavity back, not so much, and that's the reason why you see these different shapes. So let's go to the muscle back, and let's go back, and we'll just start taking them out based on distances right back here. So if we got the muscle back, and we're going to take out, we got 10, we're going to get to 5. So we'll take out this guy right here, and this guy right here, and this guy right here, and then we'll go out and we got to get 2 more. Let's get that one right there, and then that one right there. Okay, so we did that one. Now let's go to the cavity back. We got a few extras we got to take out, so let's start hunting. So right here, and then these two right here, and those two right there. Got a couple more we got to get out of here, and let's see, a couple more. That one, and that one. All right, so 5 and 5, we finally got there. So if we go back and look at the results, 165, 166, 173, 177, and it is still in the same hitting arena. A little bit faster with the muscle back than it was the cavity back. Spin rates are basically where they were before. Now let's go take a look at where they landed. Okay, so what you see here in the muscle back is pretty consistent right there, and then I tag one just really far. So not too bad. We can say that, you know, just really tagged that one, the rest of them right here in the mid 160s. If we go to the cavity back, it very tight, very consistent, as you can see the line. And again, difference in designs, okay? It doesn't means this is more tilted towards my type of ball striking than, say, somebody who was at an elite level, even, you know, single-digit handicap, could probably do a little bit better with that. It just means that my ball striking is more suited towards the cavity back than the muscle back. And even if I did this here, and this wasn't in here, it would look like a nice even area, just shorter, and because it is a weaker lofted club. All right, let's go take a look at the last bit of how it rains. We'll go here. There we go. And a little bit tighter, you know, the preponderance of them is in the middle with a little bit right to left. That's the muscle back. Cavity back. Looks like that. There's my pull still, and landing all together like that. All right, so let's go back and let's talk about these clubs again. Okay, so, you know, I have really no business hitting blades. My game is not that strong. I don't swing as fast as I used to, obviously. However, I hit these pretty good. All right, I hit them pretty good for me. This in my, if you want to compare me to a guy on tour, no, it's going to be night and day difference. It's not going to happen. However, as far as I'm concerned, now here's the thing. If you're a person that's going to take a very large divot, you had better have forearms the size of Popeye in order to be able to go through it, because this thing will get stuck. All right. As you notice in some of those distances, they assumed or looked like they're almost 10 yards apart. And that's because of getting stuck. All right. If you hit them clean, man, they go for miles. But if you don't, that's the penalty for playing this type of iron. That's the reason why fitting is so important, so that you get the right style of iron underneath of you, as well as all the other parameters. Okay? There's my fitting soapbox. We saw the differences. I was in the middle of the fairway for the most part. I'm not going to say I was dropping dimes, but I was in the middle of the fairway. These clubs feel great. Okay? They feel very good. They feel soft, just like they're supposed to. When you're off center, it's not jaw dropping like they used to be in the past. Very soft, but you still know it, but they're not that bad. The cavity back is on a different level. I've always liked that particular style from Wilson. This is better. Handful of the first ones that I hit, absolutely amazing. All right, now can I hit them bad? Yeah, I can hit them bad just like everybody else. However, these things felt great. Now, I told you I was going to tell you how to make I told you how I was going to tell you. I told you how I was going to make these better. Jack the loft. All right, and that's what I did in that. That's the reason why one was so much further than the other. I made the club 2 degrees stronger, and it made that much difference. Okay, that much difference. I think, Wilson, if you're ever looking, that the blades ought to come in the standard condition that they're in, that the cavity backs ought to be about 2 degrees more than that, and then that the next one, which is the Dynapower Forge coming out, might even be like a degree stronger than that, if we really wanted to put these into just getting them everybody's bag. That's Jim's opinion. And that way they would be good. Now, again, you went from a blade, which is literally, you have to be a precise ball striker. It's a good looking club. It checks all the boxes from what a blade does and what it can do, and they're in the lofts and that those people would need. And they're very easy to bend. The cavity back, way easier to hit, to the point I could hit them. My fear would be as if I was starting to hit a lot of diggers that I would just get stuck a lot, and that is my fault in my swing. These things hit good. They feel good when they hit. Even when you miss them, you know you missed it, but you're not as penalized as if you were with the blades. They have a good look at address. They're just a good looking club altogether. I don't see how this is not a win for a guy with even average club head speed. When you make the adjustment with the right shaft in it, it can be a real winner for somebody, okay? So, again, the blade is for the better ball striker, lower handicap. The cavity back, certainly for that, but you can move it up one notch a category to a better average player, right? Better average player that can move the ball, and don't be afraid to jack the lofts, and I think you'll be right there. All right, so if you like this, hit the like button, hit that subscribe. If you got questions, put it in the show notes below. And as always, let's see your scores go low.